Hi guys, this is Miss Moody and today we're going to be focusing on putting together a puzzle by finding equivalent fractions. You'll need to take your knowledge of addition and subtraction of fractions to help you solve this puzzle. Before we begin, you need a few materials. First, you need the fraction jigsaw puzzle, which can be found on the Valley West website at HISD at home. Next, you'll need a pair of scissors to cut out the puzzle. You'll also need some scratch paper, as well as a pencil to help you solve your problem. You'll begin by cutting the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle squares indicated by the bolded lines. When you finish, you should end up with pieces of squares that look like this. Once they're cut apart, you're going to try to put these puzzle pieces together without rotating any of them so that the finished jigsaw puzzle, all the numbers are right side up. Two pieces may only go next to each other if the edges that touch contain fractions that are equivalent. Just a quick reminder before we get started. In order to add and subtract fractions, they must have a common denominator. Now let's get started. So I'm going to take one of the pieces. The first piece I'm going to take is this one that has the 3/8 minus 2/8. Remember, if a fraction has a common denominator, we can already subtract them. 3/8 minus 2/8 would give us 1/8. So we know this fraction is equivalent to 1/8. So we want to find something that's also equal to 1/8. So we'll check through our puzzle pieces and see if we can find a fraction that has 1/8 at the top at the bottom of it to connect with this piece. There, I found 1/8, and I can now connect these pieces. Next, we want to look at our other fraction here at the top, which is 2/3 minus 1/6. Because those denominators are not the same, we have to find a common denominator. So in order to do that, we have to find a least common denominator for each one of those to make equivalent fractions. 2/3 minus 1/6. So what we want to do is take the 3 and the 6 and list off multiples until we find one that is the same. So we'll start with 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. And we'll go with 6. 6, 12, 18, 24. As we can see, if we go from left to right, 6 is the smallest number they have in common. So we take that 2/3 and multiply it by 2/2, because we had to multiply 3 times 2 in order to get to 6. That gives us 4/6. Because 6 is the least common denominator, we don't have to do anything with that 1/6. So our new fractions are 4/6 minus 1/6, which gives us 3/6. Is that the simplest form we can put that in? No, so we can find the greatest common factor for 3 and 6 in order to find the simplified form. We'll keep this 3, 6, but if we can't find it, we know that there's something else that is also equivalent to it. So, we can take that 3, 6, and we'll list out the factors for 3 and the factors for 6. The factors for 3 are 1 and 3. And the factors for 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. The greatest factor, we're going from right to left. So 3 is the greatest factor they have in common. So you take the fraction and divide both parts by 3 in order for us to get our simplest form. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. So we know that 3 6 is also equivalent to 1/2. So now we want to look for 3 6 or 1/2 in our jigsaw puzzle pieces. Remember, these pieces have to be right side up in order for them to connect. All right, I found a piece that has 1/2. So now we also want to start looking at the fractions that are on the side. Here on the side, we have 8/88. So we want to look for a fraction that's equivalent to 8/88. We have a couple of those here. So we want to see which piece best fits there. (1/11) is that equivalent to 8/88? We have a way we can check. So you're going to take your scrap piece of paper and you can use the butterfly method to see if these fractions are equivalent. Is 1/11 equal to 8/88? So what we would do is do 11 times 8, which would give us 88. And we would do 88 times 1, which would also give us 88. If those two numbers are the same, then that means these fractions are equivalent. So we found another piece of our puzzle. You keep going until you get all the pieces together. And this is the finished product.